Tesla taking the pulse. Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. So just want to start off by saying I'm recovering from a computer crash, so I've been away for a couple of days longer than I wanted to. Thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks to all the viewers for being patient. So Tesla, I wanted to take a look at Tesla. The stock right now is trading. It's doing pretty well. It's not at an all-time high. The stock ticker is TSLA. A question came up today. Is this thing going to go into a downturn because a lot of people are shorting it? That came up as a discussion point. So I wanted to take a look at it. Is Tesla going to suffer a downturn? A lot of people are shorting it, thinking it might be headed down. So let's take a look at that, okay? So TSLA, the stock ticker, it's at 330 a share. A recent high was about 8 months ago, $437 back at towards the end of December. That was close to the time I started this channel, about 8 months ago, towards the end of December. $437 recent high. A recent low was $113 on January 2nd, 2023. So 330 is at the high end of that $300 plus range. We're much closer to the recent high than the recent low. So that's one hint. Is Tesla going to do well, continue to do well? Companies that are included in this ticker, because it's more than just what people think. TSLA, what does that include? What are people actually buying when they buy this stock with TSLA as the ticker? Well, you're getting Tesla autos, electric vehicles. That was the thing they were first known for, was autos. You're also getting a battery energy storage business. You're also getting a solar power products business. And the artificial intelligence works that Elon Musk has been up to, all rolled into that one stock. It's not just the cars. There's a lot of value in there. If each one of those companies was broken out as a separate ticker, and that's the direction this company is going, folks, I think that's probably obvious. As more customers, more solid customers are lined up for these three other businesses, they will be spun off. They'll be spun off. And then what about Twitter? That wasn't even mentioned in this ticker, because Twitter was a separate company that was public that Elon Musk bought. He closed that purchase on October 27th, 3 years ago, in 2022. That company is still a private company. He took it private. He renamed it X.com. Chances are very good that company will be relisted in the future. Again, it was listed as a private company at one time. A lot of value was being built up inside that company. So let's look at all the different things that are going on within the Tesla domain. The autos, the auto company, battery energy storage business, solar power products business, the artificial intelligence work, huge effort being made, a huge spend being made there, and Twitter, and the Boring Company, and flamethrowers, and a couple of other small things that Elon Musk has going on. There is a lot of value wrapped up in that business. So can Tesla survive a downturn? Are a lot of people shorting this stock? It's probably not a good idea to short Tesla. This is someone who's building. It's like someone building a huge team of very powerful players, and I would not be shorting this stock. There's like no way would I be shorting Tesla stock. Traders who trade frequently, maybe they're different. Maybe they have other ideas. But let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the kind of numbers that traders might look at. People who trade in and out of stocks and generate a lot of tax implications when they do that. Right now, the short sellers, how much of Tesla is sold short? Because they actually track that. So I want to give you this, the short percentage of float, this definition, short percentage of float. What that means is it's a percentage of the stock that's normally available for trading. So let's say that this is purely hypothetical. Some company has 10,000 shares of stock called float that can be traded. It is open, available for buying and selling on the open market, the float. The float is 10,000 shares with this hypothetical company. Okay, so let's say of those 10,000 shares, 200 of those shares are sold short. Now, if you don't know what short selling is, you borrow some existing stock from your broker. The broker will charge you interest on that loan. It's called a margin loan. You can qualify to get a margin loan if you meet certain criteria. Check with your broker if you're curious about being able to short a stock, okay? But in this case, this simple example, there are 200 shares of the 10,000 float that are sold short, 200 out of 10,000. That is a 2% short percentage of float. 2%. That's 200 shares of the 10,000 are sold short. That's about 2%. 200 is about 2% of 10,000, right? So that sets up the explanation that now follows, okay? Tesla, as we speak, has a short percentage of float of 2.56%. So that means that of all the Tesla stock that's available to be bought or sold in the market, in the stock market, 2.56% of it is sold short. Doesn't seem like very much, but let's compare it to some other stocks. Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is at 1%. Short percentage of float is about 1% for Berkshire Hathaway stock. Tesla's at 2.56%, Berkshire's at 1%. So fewer people are shorting Berkshire than are shorting Tesla. Not by much, but there's a difference. Only 1% of the total outstanding shares of Berkshire are sold short. Costco, 1.26% of stock is sold short. A short percentage of float for Costco is 1.26%. For Palantir, also in the news, in the headlines recently, 2.52% of Palantir's floating stock, that's all the stock of Palantir available to be bought or sold on the market, 2.52% is sold short. For Ford Motor Company, it jumps all the way to 4.84%. How old is Ford Motor? This is an old company. They've been around a while. Procter & Gamble, 0.72%. So we have a range, 0.72% at the bottom, Procter & Gamble, 4.84% at the top, Ford Motor. So Palantir, Costco, Berkshire, and Tesla are in the middle, are in between that range, in the midst of that range. The low end was Procter & Gamble at 0.72%. Ford Motor Company, an old business, 4.84%. That means almost 5% of Ford stock is sold short. So short sellers will sell like this, will borrow money from a broker, then sell it because they think they're going to be able to return it to the broker later. They're going to buy it for less than they borrowed it for. In other words, they borrow the stock, they sell it, later the stock price drops, they buy it back for less money, they give the shares back to their broker, and they pocket the difference. So you can see that Tesla is within the high and the low of the range. So they don't seem, people are not too enthusiastic about shorting either Palantir or Tesla. Not too enthusiastic. I mean, is a 5% short percentage of float, is that a lot of pessimism? No, that's still only 5% of the total stock that's sold short for Ford Motor. But I just wanted to show you this range. At the low end, Procter & Gamble, which is known to be a solid, steady company, is not quite 1%. Ford is almost 5%. So Tesla stock is in the middle of that range. So there's not a lot of people who are really enthusiastic about shorting Tesla stock. So when I heard that a lot of people were thinking, well, Tesla is in trouble, the stock is going to is going to suffer over the short term. They've got all this value wrapped up in that stock ticker, especially the artificial intelligence. Of all the companies that could be broken out most quickly, that one right there could be broken out sooner than the others. The battery energy storage, the solar power products, the artificial intelligence effort of Elon Musk is massive. It's a very important part of the stock market, artificial intelligence. If this gets broken out of Tesla, oh wow, will that create a lot of wealth? Not just for Elon Musk, but for all shareholders of Tesla stock. Breaking this out into a separate company, you will get a stock benefit for that. Now, Twitter, it's not clear how soon that will be broken out into a publicly traded company again. It will happen, but I would suspect the artificial intelligence effort undertaken by Elon Musk will become its own stock sooner than all the other ones. Tesla will still be there. The artificial intelligence stock will be broken out. So very few people are in the mood to short Tesla stock. So just to review here, the range is the range that I put on the board here, 0.72% short percentage of float that was Procter & Gamble, to 4.84% for Ford. BRK, which is Berkshire, Costco, Palantir, and Tesla are in the middle of the range. Not too many people are enthused. So I don't understand why people think all of a sudden that Tesla is in trouble. It's not in trouble. Elon Musk is sort of like Steve Jobs and Warren Buffett and other key man leaders. He sort of lives by an unconventional truth, like Warren Buffett, like Steve Jobs, and other key men. This is an unconventional truth that it's understandable for Elon Musk because he came from nothing. It's understandable for Steve Jobs, who was adopted, who struggled mightily, no college, like one quarter or one semester of college, and that's it. Warren Buffett, though, for him to achieve like he's achieved, he was highly educated, master's degree at a great school, undergrad, master's degree. His dad was in the stock business. His dad was a business owner. So Warren Buffett grew up in a sort of privileged environment. And it's unusual for someone who has privilege when they're young to establish this level of privilege that he has now. And notice that his standard of living, he's kept that pretty modest lifestyle. His home he's owned since the 50s. So he sort of stands out. But these guys live by an unusual truth. So I didn't have room for everything on the board. So what is the truth that these leaders, these key men like Steve Jobs, like Warren Buffett, like Elon Musk, what is it that they know that most people don't know? And this is the truth. This is the truth that they live by. Nothing in the past matters as much as what you're willing to do right now and in the future for good, to add value, like what Elon Musk is doing. Because your deeds are going to be used as a model, as a role model. Whether you want your deeds to be used that way or not, they're going to be looked at by people who know you, by your family. They're going to be looked at and said, this is what he did, this is what he accomplished. Whether you want that to happen or not, it's going to happen. So the truth that these guys live by, the reason they are able to have such huge lives, in most cases coming from pretty meager circumstances, is because they know that truth. Nothing in the past really matters. What matters is, are you committed to creating value, figuring out some way to create a lot of customers and make those customers happy? That's what it comes down to. That's what these guys have done. They've taken the population first of the U.S. and they've made customers of those people, of just regular people. They've said, I'm going to create enough value, I'm going to create enough customers, and I will improve their lives to the point where it will help me. But so it's somewhat selfish. It's sort of an introspective sort of look at yourself and saying, I know that my behavior is going to be used by my family, by family members, and by people who know me. They're going to look at what I've done, and they're going to use my results as an example, as a model for their own behavior. It's going to affect the choices they make in their lives. So, and nothing in the past really matters. It's gone. You cannot revisit it. What matters is the future. So focusing on doing good stuff now and in the future, incrementally, allow yourself room to make mistakes. And the right people who look at your behavior and your results and admire those, they will know that you allowed yourself to make mistakes. There's a little bit of room in there to have setbacks. Like in my case, I should have backed up more of my data, and I wouldn't have had such a catastrophic issue with when my computer went south. My computer is toast. So lesson learned, right? That won't happen again. I'm taking different steps now. So that is kind of the truth that they live by. The most important part is people who know you, and especially your family, the younger members of your family, nieces, nephews, great nieces, great nephews, they're going to look at your results, they're going to look at your behavior, and they're going to put those together and say, if I want a certain type of lifestyle, I can follow what this relative did. It worked for him, so it'll probably work for me. And the way it works is you focus on doing something that is good for as many people as possible. Elon Musk is choosing things that affect a lot of people. Automobiles, battery energy storage, solar power products, artificial intelligence. He bought Twitter. So they make plans and they take risks, especially take risks. They just say, I know what I've done in the past, but I think I'm capable of more. So I'm going to make enough effort to turn what I want into reality. So the one thing that Musk is not doing, though, I can't get away from this subject without pointing this out. This one weakness is that Tesla has stayed with electric vehicles only. There's a huge market for hybrid vehicles. A lot of people who will never buy an all-electric car would easily buy a hybrid vehicle that had two sources of fuel, electric and gas. Because if there are two sources of fuel, that vehicle is more useful. It's more reliable to the user. An all-electric vehicle, you're at risk of not having electricity. As an example, we moved here from Silicon Valley. We lived very close to the Fremont assembly plant for Tesla. California still has, to this day, energy blackouts where they shut down the grid, the electric grid, and you can't charge anything. So maybe that's why Elon Musk is moving Tesla out of California. I don't know. But that's one of his mistakes. I believe that is a huge market opportunity, hybrid vehicles. Toyota's had a huge success. They try to keep it quiet. But if someone came out with a car that was as polished as Musk's electric vehicles, that also had an ICE engine, had a combination of battery power and gas power, a hybrid vehicle, they would take such a huge market opportunity exists. I don't understand why he is stubbornly sticking with electrics, especially now that China is using slave labor and they're using poorly paid labor, and they're dumping cars into the European market. If you want to look into that, we may do a video on that, how the European car market is being destroyed because they're allowing the dumping of Chinese vehicles. So this is a huge market opportunity that Musk is not doing yet. I wanted to point that out. So if you have any questions about any of this, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions and post in the comments. And one thing, if you do have a computer and you have nothing offline because you're really you're convinced that your computer is solid. Computers are solid, but if something bad happens to them, it can disrupt your life. It can take you offline for a few days, like it did for us. So have stuff have it backed up. That's the bottom line. Just back up your data, and preferably have the most important stuff in non-electronic form. Non-electronic form for the most important stuff. That would be usernames, account names, passwords, that kind of data. And then have electronic backup for stuff that's most important. Have I gone a long time without this kind of problem? Yes. Okay. But if it happens again, I will recover almost instantly, not over a period of several days. So if you have any questions, please post in the comments. I really want to thank everyone who subscribes and all the people who view. Very much appreciate it. If you have any questions, please post. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.